Good morning. This is Mike Stoller for the Stoller Real Estate Report. What's happening in the real estate market in New York City? What's happening with lending, financing, acquisitions, office to residential conversion, a variety of subjects, especially construction and the need for new housing in the city. So today I have Steven Palmese, who is the CEO and founder of Integritas Capital, correct?
Yep. Michael, thank you so much. My headset almost fell off.
Move closer, please.
Oh, Michael, yes, thank you so much. My headset almost fell off.
So what's going on? Tell me about the financing world.
You know, I'm effectively a 40-year-old guy who quit his job after 20 years in brokerage to start over to create a debt and equity platform. Consider us a smaller version of Madison Realty Capital with all deference to them. But really the efforts of what I'm doing began in 2012 when I started investing, which effectively was my night job while I was heavily in brokerage. And culmination of those efforts have led me to where we are today.
So would you say that you're predominantly a lender as opposed to an owner?
We have started owning in 2012 and prior to that. So I would think to you, given the amount of time in the space, we're more direct investors and developers. We started lending in 2019 on more of an ad hoc basis. And then watching the market change from LIBOR to SOFR, watching the markets freeze in 22 and 23, we then created a much more formal program called Integritas Capital, which is really a roll-up of our previous investments between, myself and our investors. And
who are your investors?
My investor is a family that we've known for about 20 years. Their background is in real estate. They've built about 2.5 million square feet. So when we created the debt platform or the debt vertical of our platform, the focus specifically was on construction in a very hands-on oriented approach. And our focus on the business is much akin to how we would describe ourselves as a tier one independent developer. You self-perform your own work, which means that you are the GC and you do all the work yourself. You self-perform it. You've got a dedicated team for many years. It's not your first property. You have a long-term track record, and you use your own capital for your projects. You're not a syndicate. So we are deliberately trying to target, largely developers who I've known throughout the years when I was on my brokerage side. And now I've seen them develop, 30 years later and 30 projects later, and we want to sort of really get into those projects. And more specifically, we have dedicated resources on our own side. We're vertically integrated. We own interest in a concrete plant as well, so we perform our own foundation and superstructure. So we will meet, our borrower.
Are you requiring your borrower to do business with your subsidiary companies?
We do not. But what it does is it keeps us sharp. It allows us to meet them and their subs and understand where they're sourcing from, and it gives us a chance to keep ourselves sharp to see what pricing is and continuously compare, how the markets are reacting. And so we've taken those efforts and we've pointed that directly at a lending platform for construction because it's consistent with what we know, but also allows us to put out a fair amount of capital. And
what's the pricing typically?
We are, but for one loan we made in November of 25, we've been about 650 over. And so we're a widespread group. We've put out actually $1 billion actually as of last week, which is our 24th month, so second year anniversary. Made our first loan in March of 2024, and as of just about last week, so 25 months later, we're at $1 billion.
So what are they, all construction loans?
Heavy construction and condo inventory or land acquisition. That's tend to be where we've been able to be competitive for given our pricing, right? We're trying to find and self-identify as by looking for the spreads that were required for our returns. We're willing to go a little bit deeper in the stack. So, higher proceeds or higher loan to cost, or maybe there's a challenge. We closed a project last week in 6 days. There was a grouping of assets downtown, and there weren't estoppels, and it was a hairy situation. So we closed an acquisition and construction loan in 6 days. So, but we were able to get our pricing.
Now, you're doing a large loan in Jersey City, you said to me.
We are. That's pending to close in the next 3 weeks, but that's a labor of love. That's a 1 year of effort put together. It's a $220 million construction loan on a ground-up multifamily with a component of hotel in Jersey City. And consistent with our ethos, we are financing the independent sponsor in a market that's completely institutionalized. And we spent the better part of a year getting to know the borrower, learn about their capabilities. They have a deep track record of building and self-performing, but the critique would be that they have not built a high-rise before. It's a 53-story tower. So we needed to get very comfortable knowing that they can complete a tower. And so we don't use the word difficult as much as we use straightforward, and we believe that construction is straightforward. Once you get out of the ground, you've really mitigated your costs, and then you have a vertical assembly timeline moving above that.
You have a number of projects in Brooklyn. Let's talk about some of them.
Sure. We financed a $125 million office to residential conversion in Dumbo. It was, I want to say, it was the first conversion of its time. That was down on Pearl Street. It was a really eloquent solution to what was considered to be a troubling building. It was 200 by 100, and so most people couldn't figure out how to quite work, given the nature of the core. But we found an eloquent solution, or the borrower did. Went down there, met him, spent a lot of time, and that project will now be coming out of the ground, or it is out of the ground.
Is that the church project?
No, Watermark Capital, Wolf Landau, who we're incredibly fond of, is building it. 78 Pearl Street. It's one of the former Jehovah's Witnesses buildings. There's that cross bridge as you come through the Brooklyn Bridge, so people most know it by that landmark. But we also are direct developers and lenders. We haven't been as known for that, given the fact that we've put out so much capital in a short period of time. We're also looking for, we're very multiple driven on our projects when we put out money for direct investment. So we want to turn a $1 into $5 versus $1 into $2. And so right now we're using land use. We're doing 2 large rezonings, one in the Bronx, one in Queens. And those will be substantial projects. We're going to probably break ground in a year on a 600,000 square foot fully affordable project in the Bronx, and we're probably 18 months away from a project that's about 350,000 square feet in Queens. That'll be a 485X.
So what about the city of Yes and the 485X? What effect is this having on your lending? If anything, it would be accretive for the borrowers, which allows us just to sort of give proportionally more, more purchasing power for them. But the city of Yes has been so transparent, and as every property is being sold, the value that's been created in the additional FAR is baked into the purchase price. So it's sort of been an equal playing field in that regard. There was an argument to be made, or there was an argument that prior to the completion of the project, developers were hedging. So they'd pay a little bit more of a premium for the as of right zoning, knowing that it would be enhanced in the future. But at the moment, it's been sort of an equilibrium just because, New York is so transparent. So where are you bullish for 2026?
Geographically, our credit book is top MSAs. Granted, it's mostly the East Coast because we're 2 years new. I remain bullish on New York City. Washington, D.C. is a market we're bullish on, particularly for office to residential conversions, but mostly focusing on direct development and acquisitions in New York. And outside of that has to be a challenging situation for us to step into.
So it sounds like it's an interesting time, and you've really grown the business.
It is an interesting time. As unfriendly as New York is for landlords, from a policy perspective, going back to the rent law change of 2019, and back then I was a multifamily operator, it's become incredibly friendly for land use. And so we are working with the city for land use to provide either affordable housing or workforce housing. So we are, at the moment, benefiting from being on the right side of policy.
I'd like to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for your time.